The Poetical Works of Thomas Lovell Beddoes. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Alfarabi. 'Twas in those days that never were, nor ever shall be, reader, but on this paper, golden, glorious days, such as the sun. Poor fellow, by the way, where is he? I've not seen him all this winter. Never could spin. Days, as I said before, which shall be made as fine as ink can make them. So clouds avaunt, and Boreas hence, to blow old Etna's porridge. We will make the sun rise like a gentleman at noon, clasped round with the bright armour of his May-day beams. The summer garland on his beaming curls, with buds of palest brightness and one cloud. Yes, I'm an Englishman, one snow-winged cloud, to wander slowly down the trembling blue. A wind that stops and pants along the grass, trembles and flies again, like thing pursued. And indescribable delightful sounds, which dart along the sky we know not whence. Bees we must have to hum, shrill-noted swallows, with their small lightning wings to fly about, and tilt against the waters, that will do. And now, dear climate, only think what days I'd make if you'd employ me. You should have a necklace every year of such as this. Each bead of the 365, excuse me, puss, and I couldn't get you in, made up of sunshine, moonshine, and blue skies. Starlight I'd give you in, but where are we? I see. 'Twas in those days that Alfarabi lived, a man renowned in the newspapers. He wrote in 2 reviews. Raw pork at night he ate, and opium. Kept a bear at college. A most extraordinary man was he. But he was one not satisfied with man, as man had made himself. He thought this life was something deeper than a jest, and sought into its roots. Himself was his best science. He touched the springs, the unheeded hieroglyphics deciphered, like an antiquary sage within an house of office, which he takes for Druid temple old. Here he picked up a tattered thought, and turned it o'er and o'er, till it was spelled. The names of all the tenants, pencilled upon the wall, he would unite, until he found the secret and the spell of life. 'Twas not by logic, reader. Her and her crab sister metaphysics left he to wash thought's shirt, the shirt bemired, on that proverbial morning. By his own mind, the lamp that never fails us, dare we trust it, he read the mystery, and it was one, to the dull sense of common man unknown, incomprehensible. A miracle of magic, yet as true and obvious for thoughtful ones to hit on as the sun. He knew the soul would free itself in sleep from her dull sister, bear itself away, freer than air, to guide it with his will, to bear his mortal sight and memory. On these excursions was the power he found. He found it and he used it, for one night, by the internal visions he saw sleep, just after dinner, tapping at the door of his next neighbour, the old alderman. Sleep rode a donkey with a pair of wings, and having fastened its ethereal bridle unto the rails, walked in. Now Alfarabi, leap Alfarabi, there the saddle's won. He kicks, he thwacks his spurs, the donkey flies. On soared they, like the bright thought of an eye, mid the infinity of elements. First through the azure meads of night and day, among the rushing of the million flames, they passed the bearded dragon star, unchained from hell, of old its son, yelling her way upon those wings, compact of mighty clouds, bloodshot and black, or flaring devilish light, whose echo racks the shrieking universe, whose glimpse is tempest. O'er each silent star slept like a tomb that dark memorial bird, that spellbound ocean, night. Her breast o'erwrit with golden secrecies. All these he passed, one after one, as he who stalks by night with the ghost step, the shaggy murderer, leaves past the dreamy city's sickly lamps. Then through the horrid twilight did they plunge, the universe's suburbs, dwelling dim of all that sin and suffer, midnight shrieks upon the water when no help is near. The blood-choked curse of him who dies in bed by torchlight with a dagger in his heart. The parricidal and incestuous laugh, and the last cries of those whom devils hail quick into hell, deepened the darkness, and there were sounds of wings broken and swift, blows of wrenched poniards muffled in thick flesh, struggles and tramplings wild, splashes and falls, and inarticulate yells from human breasts. Naught was beheld, but Alfarabi's heart turned in his bosom like a scorched leaf, and his soul faded. When again he saw his steed had paused, it was within a space upon the very boundary and brim of the whole universe, the outer edge which seemed almost to end the infinite zone. A chasm in the almighty thoughts forgotten by the omnipotent, a place apart, like some great ruinous dream of broken worlds, tumbling through heaven, or Tartarus's panting jaws open above the sun. Sky was there none, nor earth nor water, but confusions strange, mountainous ribs and adamantine limbs of bursten worlds and brazen pinions vast, of planets shipwrecked, many a wrinkled sun, ate to the core by worms with lightnings crushed, and drossy bolts melting like noonday snow. Old towers of heaven were there, and fragments bright of the cerulean battlements o'erthrown, when the gods struggled for the throne of light. And mid them all a living mystery, a shapeless image or a vision wrapped in clouds, and guessed at by its fearful shade. Most like a ghost of the eternal flame, an indistinct and unembodied horror, which prophecies have told of, nor one death, nor war the bacchanal of blood, nor plague the purple beast, but their great serpent sire, destruction's patriarch, dread name to speak, the end of all, the universe's death. At that dread ghostly thing, the atmosphere and lights of this, the world's black charnel house, low bowed the arch image, and thrice his life upraised its wing for passage, but the spell prevailed, and to his purposed task he rose. He called unto the dead and the swart powers that wander unconfined beyond the sight or thought of mortals, and from the abyss of cavernous deep night came forth the hands that dealt the mallet when this world of ours lay quivering on the anvil in its ore. Hands of eternal stone, which would unmesh and fray this starry company of orbs, as a young infant on a dewy morn rends into naught the tear-hung gossamer. To work they went, magician, hands, and co, with tongs and trowels, needles, scissors, paste, solder, and glue, to make another world. And as a tinker 'neath the highway hedge turns, taps, and batters, rattles, bangs, and scrapes a stew-pan ruinous, or as again the Sibylline Dame Girton, ere she lost the immortal bodkin, staunched the gaping wound in Hodge's small clothes famed, so those great hands whisked round their monstrous loom, here stitching in an island of green valleys, fitting there a mountain extra with a hook and eye, corking the sea, hemming the consonants, and lacing all behind to keep it tight. 'Tis done, 'tis finished, and between the thumb depends and the forefinger, like a toy, button with pin impaled, in winter games that dances on the board. And now it flies into the abyssal blueness, spinning and bright, just at old Saturn's tail. The necromancer puffed from his pipe a British climate round, and stars and moon and angels beamed upon it. Just as it joined the midnight choir of worlds, it chanced a bearded sage espied it sweep, and named it Georgium Sidus. Centuries danced o'er it, but... End of poem, read by Alan Mapstone in Oxford, England.
The Romance of the Lily by Thomas Lovell Beddoes, read for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. Ever love the lily pale, the flower of ladies' breasts, for there is passion on its cheek, it leaves a timorous sorrow speak, and its perfume sighs a gentle tale to its own young buds, and the wooing gale, and the piteous dew that near it rests. It is no earthly common flower for man to pull, and maidens wear on the wreathed midnight of their hair. Deep affection is its dower, for Venus kissed it as it sprung, and gave it one immortal tear when the forgotten goddess hung, woe-bowed o'er Adon's daisied bier. Its petals, brimmed with cool sweet air, are chaste as the words of a virgin's prayer, and it lives a light in the greenwood shade, like a love-thought, chequered o'er with fear, in the memory of that self-same maid. I ever have loved the lily pale, for the sake of one whom heaven has ta'en from the prison of man, the palace of pain. In autumn, Mary, thou didst die. Die? No, thou didst not, but some other way wentest to bliss. She could not die like men. Immortal into immortality she went, our sorrows know she went. And then we laid her in a grassy bed, the mortal her, to live for ever, and there was nought above her head, no flower to bend, no leaf to quiver. At length, in spring, her beauty dear, awakened by my well-known tear, and at its thrill returning, or her love or anguish burning, wrought spells within the earth. For a human bloom, a baby flower, uprose in talismanic birth, where foliage was forbid to wave, engendered by no seed or shower, a lily grew on Mary's grave. Last eve I lay by that blossom fair, alone I lay to think and weep, and all was on the fading hour, and midst the sweetness of the flower there played a star of plumage rare, a bird from off the ebon trees that grow o'er midnight's rocky steep, one of those whose glorious eyes in myriads sown the restless seas, and thinks what lustrous dew there lies upon the violets of the skies. And to itself unnumbered ditties sang that angel nightingale, secrets of the heavenly cities. And many a strange and fearful word, which in her arbour she had heard, when the court of seraphs sat to seal some ghost's eternal fate. And the wind, beneath whose current deep my soul was pillowed in her sleep, thus breathed the mystic warbler's tale. King Balthazar has a tower of gold, and rubies pave his hall. A magic sun of diamond blazes above his palace wall, and beaming spheres play round in mazes, with locks of incense o'er them rolled. Young Balthazar is the Libyan king, the lord of wizard sages. He hath read the sun, he hath read the moon, heaven's thoughts are on their pages. He knows the meaning of night and noon, and the spell on morning's wing. The ocean he hath studied well, its maddest waves he hath subdued beneath an icy yoke, and lashed them till they howled, and spoke the mysteries of the Titan brood, and all their God forbade them tell. He hath beheld the storm, when the phantom of its form leans out of heaven to trace, upon the earth and sea, and air's cerulean face, in earthquake, thunder, war, and fire, and pestilence, and madness dire, that mighty woe, futurity. From the roof of his tower he talks to Jove, as the god enthroned sits above. Night roosts upon his turret's height, and the sun is the clasp of its girdle of light, and the stars upon his terrace dwell. But the roots of that tower are snakes in hell. Balthazar's soul is a curse and a sin, and nothing is human that dwells within. But a tender, beauteous love that grows upon his haunted heart, like a scented bloom on a madhouse wall. For amid the wrath and roar of all, it gathers life with blessed art, and calmly blossoms on above. Bright Sabra, when thy thoughts are seen moving within those azure eyes, like spirits in a star at e'en. And when that little dimple flies, as air upon a rosy bush, to hide behind thy fluttering blush, when kisses those rich lips unclose, and love's own music from them flows, a god might love, a demon does. 'Tis night upon the sprinkled sky, and on their couch of roses the king and lady lie, while the tremulous lid of each discloses a narrow streak of the living eye, as when a beetle, afloat in the sun, on a rocking leaf, has just begun to sever the clasp of his outer wing, so lightly, that you scarce can see his little lace pinion's delicate fold, and a line of his body of breathing gold, girt with many a panting ring, before it quivers and shuts again, like a smothered regret in the breast of men, or a sigh on the lips of chastity. One bright hand, dawning through her hair, bids it be black, itself as fair as the cold moon's palest daughter, the last dim star, with doubtful ray, snow-like melting into day, echoed to the eye on water. Round his neck and on his breast the other curls, and bends its bell petalled inward as it fell, like a tented flower at rest. She dreams of him, for rayed joys hover in dimples round her timorous lip, and she turns to clasp her sleeping lover, kissing the lid of his tender eye, and brushing off the dews that lie upon its lashes' tip. And now she stirs no more. But the thoughts of her breast are still as the song of a frozen rill which winter spreads his dark roof o'er. In the still and moony hour of that calm entwining sleep, from the utmost tombs of earth, the visioned land of death and birth, came a black malignant power, a spectre of the desert deep. And it is Plague, the spotted fiend, the drunkard of the tomb. Upon her mildewed temples the thunderbolts of doom and blight buds of hell's red fire, like gory wounds in bloom, are twisted for a wreath. And there's a chalice in her hand, whence bloody flashes gleam, while struggling snakes with arrowy tongues twist o'er it for a steam, and its liquor is of Phlegethon, and Aetna's wrathful stream, and icy dews of death. Like a rapid dream she came, and vanished like the flame of a burning ship at sea. But to his shrinking lips she pressed the cup of boiling misery, and he quaffed it in his tortured rest, and woke in the pangs of lunacy. As a buried soul awaking from the cycle of its sleep, panic-struck and sad doth lie beneath its mind's dim canopy, and marks the stars of memory breaking from 'neath oblivion's ebbing deep, while clouds of doubt bewilder the true sky. So in the hieroglyphic portal of his dreams sat Balthazar, awake amidst his slumbering senses, and felt as feels man's ghost immortal, whom the corpse's earthen fences from his vast existence bar. The pestilence was in his breast, and boiled and bubbled o'er his brain. His thoughtless eyes in their unrest would have burst their circling chain, scattering their fiery venom wide, but for the soft endearing rain, with which the trembler at his side fed those gushing orbs of white, as evening feeds the waves, with looks of quiet light. The tear upon his cheek's fierce flush, the cool breath on his brow, and healthy presage of a blush sketched in faint tints behind his skin, and the hush of settling thoughts within, Sabra hath given, and she will need them now. For as the echo of a grove keeps its dim shadow 'neath some song of love, and gives her life away to it in sound, soft spreading her wild harmony, like a tress of smoking sensory, or a ring of water round. So all the flowery wealth of her happiness and health untwined from Sabra's strength, and grew into the blasted stem of Balthazar's pale life, and his is the beauty and bliss that flew on the wings of her love from his sinking wife. The fading wanness of despair was the one colour of her cheek, and tears upon her bosom fair wrote the woe she dared not speak. But life was in her, yes, it played in tremulous and fitful grace, like a flame's reflected breath shivering in the throes of death against the monumental face of some sad, voiceless marble maid. And what is a woman to Balthazar, whom love has weakened, bowed, and broken? Upon his forehead's darksome war, his lips curled meaning, yet unspoken, the lowering of his wrinkled brow, 'tis graved. He spurns, he loathes her now. Along the sea, at night's black noon, alone the king and lady float, with music in a snowy boat, that glides in light, an ocean moon. From billow to billow it dances, and the spray around it glances, and the mimic rocks and caves, beneath the mountains of the waves, reflect the joyous song, as the merry bark is borne along. And now it stays its eager sail within a dark sepulchral vale, amid the living Alps of ocean, round which the crags in tumult rise, and make a fragment of the skies. Beneath whose precipices' motion the folded dragons of the deep lie, with lidless eyes, asleep. It pauses, and is that a shriek that agonizes the still air, and makes the dead day move and speak from beneath its midnight pall, or the ruined billows fall? The boat is soaring lighter there. The voice of woman sounds no more. That night the water crescent bore dark Balthazar alone unto the living shore. Tears, tears for Sabra! Who will weep? O blossoms, ye have dew, and grief dissembling storms might strew thick dropping woe upon her sleep. False sea, why dost thou look like sorrow? Why is thy cold heart of water? Or rather why are tears of thee compassionless, bad sea? For not a drop does thy stern spirit borrow to mourn o'er beauty's fairest daughter. Heaven, blue heaven, thou art not kind, or else the sun is not thine eye, for thou shouldst be with weeping blind, not thus forgetful, bright and dry. Oh, that I were a plume of snow to melt away and die in a long chain of bubbling harmony! My tribute shall be sweet, though small. A cup of the vale lily bloom, filled with white and liquid woe, give it to her ocean Paul. With such deluge seeds I'll sow her mighty elemental tomb, until the lamentations grow into a foaming crop of populous overflow. Hither, like a bird of prey, whom red anticipations feed, flaming along the fearful day, revenge's thirsty hour doth fly. Heaven has said a fearful word, which hell's eternal labyrinths heard, and the wave of time shall answer to the depths sublime, reflecting it indeed. Balthazar the king must die, for all his power is fled, his spells dissolved, his spirits gone, and magic cannot ease the bed where lies the necromant alone. What thought is gnawing in his heart? What struggles madly in his brain? See, the force, the fiery pain of silence makes his eyeballs start. Oh, ease thy bosom, dare to tell. But grey-haired pity speaks in vain. That bitter shriek, that hopeless yell, hath given the secret safe to hell. Like a ruffled nightingale, balanced upon dewy wings, through the palace weeps the tale, leaving tears where'er she sings. And around the icy dead, maids are winding kingly robes of mocking lead, and with leafy garlands binding the unresisting careless head. Gems are flashing, garments wave round the bridegroom of the grave. Hark! A shout of wild surprise, a burst of terrible amaze. The lids are moving up his eyes, they open, kindle, beam, and gaze. Grave, thy bars are broken, quenched the flames of pain. Falsely fate hath spoken, the dead is born again. As when the moon and shadows' strife on some rebellious night looks a pale statue into life, and gives his watching form the action of their light, so stilly strode the awakened one, and with a voice of stone which troubled caverns screech, cursing the tempest's maniac might, he uttered human speech. Tremble, living ones, and hear! By the name of death and fear, by lightning, earthquake, fire, and war, and him whose snakes and hounds they are, from whose judgment seat I come, listen, crouch, be dumb. My soul is drowned beneath a flood of conscience, red with Sabra's blood, and from yon blue infinity, doomed and tortured I am sent to confess the deed and fly. Wail not for me, yourselves repent, eternity is punishment, listen, crouch, and die. With that word his body fell, as dust upon the storm, flash-like darkened was his form. While through their souls in horror rang the dragon's shout, the thunderous clang of the closing gates of hell. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pygmalion by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. There stood a city along Cyprus' side, lavish of palaces, an arched tide of unrolled rocks, and where the deities dwelled, their clustered domes pushed up the noon and swelled with the emotion of the god within. As doth earth's hemisphere when showers begin to tickle the still spirits at its core, till pastures tremble and the river shore squeezes out buds at every dewy pore. And there were pillars from some mountain's heart, thronging beneath a wide imperial floor, that bent with riches, and there stood apart a palace, oft accompanied by trees, that laid their shadows in the galleries under the coming of the endless light. Net-like, who trod the marble night or day, by moon or lamp, or sunless dayshine white, would brush the shaking ghostly leaves away, which might be tendrils or a knot of wine, burst from the depth of a faint window vine, with a bird pecking it, and round the hall and wandering staircase within every wall of seaward portico and sleeping chamber, whose patient lamp distilled a day of amber, there stood and sate, or made rough steeds their throne, immortal generations wrung from stone, alike too beautiful for life and death, and bodies that a soul of mortal breath would be the dross of. Such a house as this, within a garden hard by Salamis, Cyprus' city crown and capital, ere Paphos was, and at whose ocean wall beauty and love's paternal waves do beat, that sprouted Venus. Such a fair retreat, lonely Pygmalion self-inhabited, whose fiery chisel with creation fed the shipwrecked rocks, who paid the heavens again diamonds for ice, who made the gods who make men. Lonely Pygmalion, you might see him go along the streets where markets thickest flow, doubling his gown across his thinking breast, and the men fall aside, nor only pressed out of his elbow's way, but left a place, a sun-room for him, that his mind had space, and none went near. None in his sweep would venture, for you might feel that he was but the centre of an inspired round, the middle spark of a great moon, setting aside the dark and cloudy people. As he went along, the chambered ladies silenced the half-song, and let the wheel unheeded whirl and skim, to get their eyes blessed by the sight of him. So locks were swept from every eye that drew true, sun for the soul through circles violet blue, mild brown, or passionate black. Still discontent, over his sensual kind the sculptor went, walking his thoughts. Yet Cyprus girls be fair. Day bright and evening soft the maidens are, and witching like the midnight, and their pleasure silent and deep at midnight's starry treasure. Lovely and young, Pygmalion yet loved none. His soul was bright and lovely as the sun, like which he could create, and in its might there lived another spirit, wild and bright, that came and went, and when it came its light on these dim earthly things turn where he will, its light, shape, beauty were reflected still. Daytime and dark it came, like a dim mist, sheltering a god it rolled, and ere he wist, it fell aside, and dawned a shape of grace, and an inspired and melancholy face, whose lips were smile buds dewy. Into him it rolled like sunlight, till his sight was dim, and it was in his heart and soul again, not seen but breathed. There was a grassy plain, a pasture of the deer, Olympus' mountain was the plain's night, the picture of its fountain. Unto which unfrequented dell and wood, unwittingly his solitary mood oft drew him. In the water lay a fragment of pale marble, which they say slipped from some fissure in the agued moon, which had caught earthquake and a deadly swoon, when the sun touched her with his hilly shade. Weeds grew upon it, and the streamlet made a wanton music with its ragged side, and birds had nests there, one still eventide, when they were perched and sleeping past this man, startling the air with thoughts which overran the compass of his mind. Writing the sand, idly he paused, and laid unwitting hand on the cold stone. How smooth the touch it felt, less porous than a lip which kisses melt, and diamond hard. That night his workmen wrought with iron under it, and it was brought, this dripping quarry, while the sky was starry, home to the weary, yearning statuary. He saw no sky that day, no dark that night, for through the hours his lamp was full of light, shadowing the pavement with his busy right. Day after day they saw not in the street the wondrous artist. Some immortal feat absorbed him, and yet often in the noon, when the town slept beneath the sweltering June, the rich within, the poor man on the stair, he stole unseen into the meadow's air, and fed on sight of summer, till the life was too abundant in him, and so, rife with light creative, he went in alone, and poured it warm upon the growing stone. The magic chisel thrust and gashed and swept, flying and manifold, no cloud e'er wept, so fast, so thick, so light upon the close of shapeless green it meant to make a rose. And as insensibly out of a stick, dead in the winter time, the dewdrops quick, and the thin sunbeams and the airy shower raise and unwrapped a many-leaved flower, and then a fruit. So from the barren stalk of the dear shading formless valley rock, this close stone bud he, quiet as the air, had shaped a lady wondrously fair, dear to the eyes, a delicate delight, for all her marble symmetry was white, as brow and bosom should be, save some azure, which waited for a loving lip's erasure upon her shoulder to be turned to blush. And she was smooth and full, as if one gush of life had washed her, or as if asleep lay on her eyelid, easier to sweep than be from daisy. Who could help a sigh at seeing a beauty stand so lifelessly, but that it was too beautiful to die? Dealer of immortality, greater than Jove himself, for only he can such eternize as the grave has ta'en, and open heaven by the gate of pain. What art thou now, divine Pygmalion? Divine, gods counting human. Thou hast done that glory which has undone thee for ever. For thou art weak and tearful, and dost shiver, wintrily sad, and thy life's healthy river, with which thy body once was overflown, is dried and sunken to its banks of bone. He carved it not, nor was the chisel's play that dashed the earthen hindrances away, driven and diverted by his muscles' sway. The winged tool, as digging out a spell, followed a magnet wheresoe'er it fell, that sucked and led it right, and for the rest, the living form with which the stone he blessed was the loved image stepping from his breast. And therefore loves he it, and therefore stays about the she-rock's feet from hour to hour, anchored to her by his own heart. The power of the isle's Venus therefore thus he prays. Goddess that made me, save thy son, and save the man that made thee goddess from the grave. Thou knowest it not, it is a fearful coop, dark, cold, and horrible, a blinded loop in Pluto's madhouse green and wormy wall. O save me from it, let me not die like all. For I am but like one, not yet, at least not yet, and why? My eyes are wet with the thick dregs of immature despair, with bitter blood out of my empty heart. I breathe not aught but my own sighs for air, and my life's strongest is a dying start. No sour grief there is to me unwed. I could not be more lifeless, being dead. Then let me die. Ha! Did she pity me? Oh, she can never love. Did you not see how still she bears the music of my moan? Her heart? Ah, touch it, fool, I love the stone. Inspire her, gods, oft ye have wasted life on the deformed, the hideous, and the vile. Oh, grant it, my sweet rock, my only wife. I do not ask it long, a little while, a year, a day, an hour, let it be. For that I'll give you my eternity. Or let it be a fiend, if ye will send something yon form to humanize and bend within those limbs, and when the new poured blood flows in such veins, the worst must turn to good. They will not hear. Thou, Jove, or thou, Apollo, thou knowest, O listen to my groan. 'Twas Niobe thou drovest from flesh to stone. Show this the hole she broke, and let her follow that mother's track of steps and eyelid rain, treading them backwards into life again. Life, said I, lives she not? Is there not gone my life into her, which I pasture on, dead where she is not? Live, thou statue fair, live, thou dear marble, or I shall go wild. I cover thee, my sweet, I leave thee there, behind this curtain, my delicious child, that they may secretly begin to give my prayer to thee. When I return, oh, live! Oh, live, or I live not. And so he went, leaving the statue in its darksome tent. Morn after morn, sadder the artist came. His prayer, his disappointment were the same. But when he gazed, she was more near to woman. There was a fleshy pink, a dimple wrought, that trembled, and the cheek was growing human, with the flushed distance of a rising thought, that still crept nearer, yet no further sign. And now, Pygmalion, that weak life of thine shakes like a dewdrop in a broken rose, or incense parting from the altar glows. 'Tis the last look, and he is mad no more. By rule and figure he could prove at large she never can be born, and from the shore his foot is stretching into Charon's barge. Upon the pavement ghastly is he lying, cold with the last and stoniest embrace. Elysium's light illumines all his face. His eyes have a wild, starry grace of heaven, into whose depth of depths he's dying. A sound, with which the air doth shake, extinguishing the window of moonlight. A pang of music, dropping round delight, as if sweet music's honeyest heart did break. Such a flash and such a sound the world is stung by, as if something was unfurled that held great bliss within its inmost curled. Roof after roof the palace rends asunder, and then, O sight of joy and placid wonder! He lies beside a fountain on the knee of the sweet woman's statue quietly, weeping the tears of his felicity. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lines written in a blank leaf of the Prometheus Unbound by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Write it in gold, a spirit of the sun, an intellect ablaze with heavenly thoughts, a soul with all the dews of pathos shining, odorous with love, and sweet to silent woe with the dark glories of concentrate song, was sphered in mortal earth. angelic sounds, alive with panting thoughts, sunned the dim world. The bright creations of an human heart wrought magic in the bosoms of mankind. A flooding summer burst on poetry, of which the crowning sun, the night of beauty, the dancing showers, the birds, whose anthems wild, note after note unbind the enchanted leaves of breaking buds, eve and the flow of dawn, were centered and condensed in his one name, as in a providence, and that was Shelley. Oxford, 1822. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet to Tartar, a Terrier Beauty by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. Snowdrop of dogs with ear of brownest dye, like the last orphan leaf of naked tree which shudders in bleak autumn. Though by thee, of hearing careless and untutored eyes, not understood articulate speech of men, nor marked the artificial mind of books, the mortal's voice eternized by the pen, yet hast thou thought and language all unknown to Babel's scholars, oft intensest looks, long scrutiny o'er some dark veined stone dost thou bestow, learning dead mysteries of the world's birthday, oft in eager tone with quick-tailed fellows bandiest prompt replies, solicitude's canine, four-footed amities. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Letter to B.W.Procter Esq. by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. From Oxford, May 1825. In every tower that Oxford has is swung, quick, loud, or solemn, the monotonous tongue, which speaks time's language, the universal one, after the countenance of moon or sun, translating their still motions to the earth. I cannot read. The reeling belfry's mirth troubles my senses. Therefore, Greek, shut up your dazzling pages, covered be the cup which Homer has beneath his mantle old, steamy with boiling life. Your petals fold, you fat square blossoms of the yet young tree of Britain grafted, flourishing Germany. Hush! Latin, to your grave, and with the chime my pen shall turn the minutes into rhyme, and, like the dial, blacken them. There sits, or stands, or lounges, or perhaps on bits of this rag's daughter, paper exorcises, with strange black marks and inky wild devices, the witch of worlds, the echo of great verse, about the chasms of the universe, ringing and bounding immortality. Give him thy bosom, dark Melpomene, and let him of thy goblet and thine eye exhaust the swimming deep insanity. He hath the soul, oh let it then be fed, sea after sea, with that which is not read, nor wrung by reasoning from a resolute head, but comes like lightning on a hilltop steeple, heaven's spillings on the lofty laurelled people. Verse to thee, light to thee, wings upraise thee long, in the unvacillating soar of song, thou starseed of a man. but do not dare to tempt thy Apollonian god too far, clogging and smoking thy young snake renown in the straight stony shadows of the town, lest he grow weak and pine, and never be what he was born, twin to eternity. So come, shake London from thy skirts away. So come, forget not it is England's May. For Oxford, ho! By moonlight or by sun, our horses are not ours, but rather run foot by foot faster than the second sand, while the old sun team, like a plough, doth stand stuck in thick heaven. Here thou at morn shalt see Spring's dryad wakening whisper call the tree, and move it to green answers, and beneath, each side the river which the fishes breathe, daisies and grass, whose tops were never stirred, or dews made tremulous, but by foot of bird. And you shall mark in spring's heaven-tapestried room yesterday's knop, burst by its wild perfume, like woman's childhood to this morning's bloom. And here a primrose pale beneath a tree, and here a cowslip longing for its bee, and violets and lilies every one, grazing in the great pasture of the sun, beam after beam, visibly as the grass is swallowed by the lazy cows that pass. Come look, come walk, and there shall suddenly seize you a rapture and a fantasy. High over mountains sweeping, fast and high, through all the intricacies of the sky, as fast and far a shipwrecked hoard of gold dives ocean, cutting every billow's fold. These are the honey minutes of the year, which make man god and make a god Shakespeare. Come gather them with me, if not, then go, and with thee all the ghosts of Johnson's toe, the fighting Tartars and the Carthaginians, and may your lady muse's stiff-winged pinions be naked and impossible to fly, like a fat goose pen-plucked for poetry. A curse upon thy cream to make it sour, a curse upon thy teapot every hour. Spirits of ice possess it, and thy tea, changed at its contact, hay and straw leaves be. A cold and nipping ague on thine urn, and an invisible canker eat and burn the mathematic picture near your fire of the grave compass-handed quiet sire. No more. Be these the visions of your sorrow, when you have read this doggerel through tomorrow, and then refuse to let our Oxford borrow you of the smoky-faced Augustan town, and unpersuaded drop the paper down. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Another Letter to the Same by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. From Göttingen, March 13, 1836. Today a truant from the odd old bones and winds of flesh which has tamed rocks and stones, piled cavernously make his body's dwelling, have housed man's soul there where time's billows, swelling, make a deep ghostly and invisible sea of melted worlds antediluvially, upon the sand of ever-crumbling hours, God-founded stands the castle, all its towers. With veiny tendrils ivied this bright day, I leave its chambers and with oars away. Seek some enchanted island where to play. And what do you that in the enchantment dwell, and should be raving ever, a wild swell of passionate life rolling about the world, now sun-sucked to the clouds, dashed on the curled leaf-hidden daisies, an incarnate storm, letting the sun through on the meadows yellow, or anything except that earthy fellow, that wise dog's brother, man, oh, shame to tell. Make tea in Circe's cup, boil the cool well, the well Pierian which no bird dare sip, but nightingales there let kettles dip, who write their simpering sonnets to its song, and walk on Sundays in Parnassus Park. Take thy example from the sunny lark, throw off the mantle which conceals the soul, the many-citied world, and seek thy goal. Straight as a starbeam falls, creep not nor climb, as they who place their topmost of sublime on some peak of this planet pitifully, dart eagle-wise with open wings and fly, until you meet the gods. Thus counsel I. The men who can but tremble to be great, cursed be the fool who taught to hesitate, and to regret time lost most bitterly. And thus I write, and I dare write to thee, fearing that still, as you were wont to do, you feed and fear some asinine review. Let Juggernaut roll on, and we whose sires bloodied his wheels and prayed around his fires, laugh at the leaden ass in the god's skin. Example follows precept. I have been giving some negro minutes of the night, freed from the slavery of my ruling sprite, anatomy the grim to a new story, in whose satiric pathos we will glory. In it despair has married wildest mirth, and to their wedding banquet all the earth is bade to bring its enmities and loves, triumphs and horrors. You shall see the doves billing with quiet joy, and all the while there nests the skull of some old king of Nile. But he who fills the cups and makes the jest, pipes to the dancers, is the fool of the feast. Who's he? I've dug him up and decked him trim, and made a mock, a fool, a slave of him, who was the planet's tyrant, dotard, death, man's hate and dread, not with a stoical breath, to meet him like Augustus, standing up, nor with grave saws to season the cold cup, like the philosopher, nor yet to hail his coming with a verse or jesting tale, as Adrian did and more, but of his night, his moony ghostliness and silent might, to rob him, to uncypress him in the light, to unmask all his secrets, make him play Momasaur wine by torchlight is the way, to conquer him and kill, and from the day, spurned, hissed, and hooted, send him back again, an unmasked braggart to his bankrupt den. For death is more a jest than life, you see, contempt grows quick from familiarity. I owe this wisdom to anatomy, your muse is younger in her soul than mine. O feed her still on woman's smiles and wine, and give the world a tender song once more, for all the good can love and can adore. What's human, fair, and gentle few I know can bear to sit at my board when I show the wretchedness and folly of man's all, and laugh myself right heartily. Your call is higher and more human. I will do unsociably my part, and still be true to my own soul, but e'er admire you, and own that you have nature's kindest trust, her weak and dear to nourish, that I must. Then fare as you deserve it well, and live in the calm feelings you to others give. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Boding Dreams by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy. 1. In lover's ear a wild voice cried, "Sleeper, awake and rise!" A pale form stood by his bedside, with heavy tears in her sad eyes. A beckoning hand, a moaning sound, a new dug grave in weedy ground for her who sleeps in dreams of thee. Awake, let not the murder be! Unheard the faithful dream did pray, and sadly sighed itself away. Sleep on, sung sleep, to-morrow 'tis time to know thy sorrow. Sleep on, sung death, to-morrow from me thy sleep thou'lt borrow. Sleep on, lover, sleep on. The tedious dream is gone. The bell tolls 1. 2. Another hour, another dream. Awake, awake, it wailed. Arise, ere with the moon's last beam her rosy life hath paled. A hidden light, a muffled tread, a daggered hand beside the bed of her who sleeps in dreams of thee. Thou wak'st not. Let the murder be. In vain the faithful dream did pray, and sadly sighed itself away. Sleep on, sung sleep, tomorrow 'tis time to know thy sorrow. Sleep on, sung death, tomorrow from me thy sleep thou'lt borrow. Sleep on, lover, sleep on, the tedious dream is gone. Soon comes the sun. 3. Another hour, another dream. A red wound on a snowy breast, a rude hand stifling the last scream. On rosy lips a death kiss pressed. Blood on the sheets, blood on the floor, the murderer stealing through the door. Now, said the voice with comfort deep, she sleeps indeed, and thou mayst sleep. The scornful dream then turned away to the first bleeding cloud of day. Sleep on, sung sleep, tomorrow 'tis time to know thy sorrow. Sleep on, sung death, tomorrow from me thy sleep thou'lt borrow. Sleep on, lover, sleep on, the tedious dream is gone. The murder's done. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song of a Maid Whose Love is Dead by Thomas Lovell Beddoes, read for LibriVox.org. Merry, merry little stream, tell me, hast thou seen my dear? I left him with an azure dream, calmly sleeping on his bier. But he has fled. I passed him in his churchyard bed. A yew is sighing o'er his head, and grass roots mingle with his hair. What doth he there? O cruel, can he lie alone, or in the arms of one more dear? Or hides he in that bower of stone, to cause and kiss away my fear? He doth not speak, he doth not moan. Blind, motionless, he lies alone. But ere the grave snake fleshed his sting, this one warm tear he bade me bring, and lay it at thy feet, among the daisies sweet. Moonlight whisperer, summer air, songster of the groves above, tell the maiden rose I wear, whether thou hast seen my love. This night in heaven I saw him lie, discontented with his bliss, and on my lips he left this kiss, for thee to taste and then to die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Ghost's Moonshine by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Algy Pug. 1. It is midnight, my wedded. Let us lie under the tempest bright, undreaded, in the warm thunder. Tremble and weep not. What can you fear? My heart's best wish is thine, that thou wert white and bedded on the softest bier in the ghost's moonshine. Is that the wind? No, no, only 2 devils that blow through the murderer's ribs to and fro in the ghost's moonshine. 2. Who is there? She said, afraid, yet stirring and awaking the poor old dead. His spade it is only making. Tremble and weep not. What do you crave? Where yonder grasses twine, a pleasant bed, my maid, that children call a grave in the cold moonshine. Is that the wind? No, no, only two devils that blow through the murderer's ribs to and fro in the ghost's moonshine. 3. What dost thou strain above her lovely throat's whiteness? A silken chain to cover her bosom's brightness? Tremble and weep not. What dost thou fear? My blood is spilt like wine. Thou hast strangled and slain me, lover. Thou hast stabbed me, dear, in the ghost's moonshine. Is that the wind? No, no. Only her goblin doth blow through the murderer's ribs to and fro in its own moonshine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
From the German by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. Come with me, thou gentle maid, the stars are strong and make a shade of you across your mother's tomb. Leave your chamber's vine-leaved gloom. Leave your harp strings, loved one. 'Tis our hour, the robber said. Yonder comes the goblin's son. For when men are still in bed, day begins with the old dead. Leave your flowers so dewed with weeping, and our feverish baby sleeping. Come to me, thou gentle maid, 'tis our hour, the robber said. To the wood whose shade is night went they in the owl's moonlight. As they passed the common wild, like a murderous jester smiled. Dimpled twice with nettly graves, you may mark her garment white, in the night wind how it waves. The night wind to the churchyard flew and whispered underneath the yew, Mother churchyard, in my breath I've a lady's sigh of death. Sleep thou there, thou robber's wife, said he, clasping his wet knife. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Phantom Wooer by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. A ghost that loved a lady fair, ever in the starry air of midnight at her pillow stood, and with a sweetness skies above, the luring words of human love. Her soul the phantom wooed, sweet and sweet is their poisoned note, the little snakes of silver throat, in mossy skulls that nest and lie, ever singing, die, oh, die. Young soul, put off your flesh and come with me into the quiet tomb. Our bed is lovely, dark, and sweet. The earth will swing us as she goes, beneath our coverlid of snows, and the warm leaden sheet. Dear and dear is their poisoned note, the little snakes of silver throat, in mossy skulls that nest and lie, ever singing, die, oh, die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Dirge by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Kachuk. Today is a thought, a fear is tomorrow, and yesterday is our sin and our sorrow, and life is a death where the body's the tomb, and the pale sweet breath is buried alive in its hideous gloom. Then waste no tear, for we are the dead, the living are here in the stealing earth and the heavy bier. Death lives but an instant and is but a sigh, and his son is unnamed immortality, whose being is thine. Dear ghost, so to die is to live, and life is a worthless lie. Then we weep for ourselves and wish thee goodbye.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Another Dirge by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Kachuk. For a young maiden. Hushed be sighing near the string o'er whose tremors deep we sing. the youngest death who hath no fears, blood, nor pang, nor any tears, hushed be sighing, fair and young as Venus' child, only paler and most mild, end of all that's dear and young, thee we mean, soft drop of roses, hush of birds that's sweetest sung, that beginst when music closes, the maiden's dying.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Bridal Serenade by Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Nalifa. Maiden, thou sittest alone above, crowned with flowers, and like a sprite starly clothed in a garment white, thou art the only maiden I love, and soul of fondness to thee I bring, thy glorious beauty homaging. But thou wearest the golden ring. Maiden, thou hast broken no vow to me, but undone me alone with gentleness, wasting upon me glances that bless, and news that I never was born for thee. No hope, no joy, yet nevermore my heart shall murmur, now 'tis o'er, I'll bless thee dying at thy door. End of the poem. This recording is in the public domain. Dirge by Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Nalifa. To her couch of evening rest, 'neath the sun's divinest west, bear we in the silent car this consumed incense star, this dear maid whose life is shared, and whose sweets are sweetly dead. End of the poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dirge and Hymeneal by Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Supposed to be sung as the funeral and wedding processions cross each other at the church door. Dirge. Woe, woe! This is death's hour of spring. Behold his flower, fair babe of life, to whom death and the dreamy tomb was nothing yesterday, and now is all. The maiden from her play, beside her lover gay, the churchyard voices call, tolling so slow, woe, woe. Hymeneal. Joy, joy, it is love's day. Strew the young conqueror's way with summer's glories young, o'er which the birds have sung bright weeds from fairy rings. Here, there, away. Joy, joy, the tree bird sings. Joy, joy, 100 springs. Melodies ever say, maiden and boy, joy, joy. Dirge. She cut the roses down, and wreathed her bridal crown. Death playful culled her blossom, and tore her from life's bosom. Fair maiden, or fair ghost, which is thy name? Come to the spectral host, they pity thee the most, and to the cold world's shame, soft cry they, low, woe, woe. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dial Thoughts by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. 1. I think of thee at daybreak still, and then thou art my playmate small, beside our straw-roofed village rill, gathering cowslips tall, and chasing oft the butterfly which flutters past like treacherous life. You smile at me, and at you I, a husband, boy, and baby wife. 2. I think of thee at noon again, and thy meridian beauty high falls on my bosom like young rain out of a summer sky, and I reflected in the tear which 'neath thy picture drops forlorn, and then my love is bright and clear, and manlier than it was at morn. 3. I think of thee by evening's star, and softly melancholy, slow, an eye doth glisten from afar, all full of lovely woe. The air then sighingly doth part, and or from death the cold, or love, I bear the passing of a dart, but hope once more, and look above. 4. I think of thee at black midnight, and woe and agony it is, to see thy cheek so deadly white, to hear thy grave worm hiss. But looking on thy lips is cheer, they closed in love, pronouncing love, and then I tremble not for fear, but in thy breath from heaven above. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Dream-Pedlary by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. 1. If there were dreams to sell, what would you buy? Some cost a passing bell, some a light sigh that shakes from life's fresh crown, only a rose-leaf down. If there were dreams to sell, merry and sad to tell, and the crier rung the bell, what would you buy? 2. A cottage lone and still, with bowers nigh, shadowy my woes to still, until I die. Such pearl from life's fresh crown, fain would I shake me down. Were dreams to have at will, this would best heal my ill, this would I buy. 3. But there were dreams to sell, ill didst thou buy. Life is a dream, they tell, waking to die. Dreaming a dream to prize is wishing ghosts to rise, and if I had the spell to call the buried well, which one would I? 4. If there are ghosts to raise, what shall I call? Out of hell's murky haze, heaven's blue pall, raise my loved long-lost boy to lead me to his joy. There are no ghosts to raise, out of death lead no ways, vain is the call. 5. Know'st thou not ghosts to sue? No love thou hast, else lie as I will do, and breathe thy last. So out of life's fresh crown fall like a rose-leaf down. Thus are the ghosts to woo, thus are all dreams made true, ever to last. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ballad of Human Life by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org. When we were girl and boy together, we tossed about the flowers, and wreathed the blushing hours into a posy green and sweet. I sought the youngest, best, and never was at rest, till I had laid them at thy fairy feet. But the days of childhood, they were fleet, and the blooming sweet briar breathed weather, when we were boy and girl together. Then we were lad and lass together, and sought the kiss of night, before we felt aright, sitting and singing soft and sweet. The dearest thought of heart, with thee 'twas joy to part, and the greater half was thine as meat. Still my eyelids dewy, my veins they beat, at the starry summer evening weather, when we were lad and lass together. And we are man and wife together. Although thy breast, once bold with song, be closed and cold beneath flowers' root and birds' light feet, yet I sit by thy tomb, and dissipate the gloom, with songs of loving faith and sorrow sweet. And fate and darkling grave kind dreams do cheat, that while fair life, young hope, despair and death are, we're boy and girl, and lass and lad, and man and wife together. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song on the Water by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by ShrimpPhish. 1. Wild with passion, sorrow beladen, bends the thought of thy stormy soul on its home, on its heaven, the loved maiden. And peace shall come at her eye's control, even so night's starry rest possesses with its gentle spirit these tamed waters, and bids the wave, with weedy tresses, embower the ocean's pavement stilly, where the sea-girls lie, the mermaid daughters, whose eyes, not born to weep, more palely lidded sleep than in our fields the lily, and sighing in their rest, more sweet than its breath, and quiet as its death, upon a lady's breath. 2. Heart high-beating, triumph bereaved, search the record of loves gone by, and borrow the blessings by them bequeathed, to deal from out of thy victory's sky. Even so, throughout the midnight deep, the silent moon doth seek the bosoms of those dear mermaid girls asleep, to feed its dying rays anew, like to the bee on earthly blossoms, upon their silvery whiteness, and on the rainbow brightness of their eyelashes dew, and kisseth their limbs o'er, her lips where they do quaff, strike starry tremors off, as from the waves our oar. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Love-in-Idleness by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by ShrimpPhish. 1. Shall I be your first love, lady? Shall I be your first? Oh, then I'll fall before you, down on my velvet knee, and deeply bend my rosy head, and press it upon thee, and swear that there is nothing more, for which my heart doth thirst, but a downy kiss and pink, between your lips' soft chink. 2. Yes, you shall be my first love, boy, and you shall be my first. And I will raise you up again unto my bosom's fold, and, when you kisses many one on lip and cheek have told, I'll let you loose upon the grass, to leave me if you durst, and so we'll toy away the night besides the day. 3. But let me be your second love, but let me be your second, for then I'll tap so gently, dear, upon your window pane, and creep between the curtains in, where never man has lain, and never leave thy gentle side till the morning star hath beckoned, within the silken lace of thy young arms' embrace. 4. Well, thou shalt be my second love, yes, gentle boy, my second, and I will wait at eve for thee within my lonely bower, and yield unto thy kisses like a bud to April's shower, from moonset till the tower clock the hour of dawn hath reckoned, and lock thee with my arms, all silent up in charms. 5. No, I will be thy third love, lady, I will be the third, and break upon thee bathing, in woody place alone, and catch thee to my saddle, and ride o'er stream and stone, and press thee well, and kiss thee well, and never speak a word, till thou hast yielded up the margin of love's cup. 6. Then thou shalt not be my first, love boy, nor my second, nor my third. If thou art the first, I'll laugh at thee, and pierce thy flesh with thorns, If the second from my chamber pelt with jeering laugh and scorns, and if thou darest be the third, I'll draw my dirk unheard, and cut thy heart in two, and then die, weeping you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Reason Why by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. 1. I love thee, and I love thee not. I love thee, yet I'd rather not. All of thee, yet I know not what. A flowery eye as tender, a swan-like neck as slender, and not at a brown little spot, for tears to fall afraid on, and kisses to be paid on, have other maidens too. Then why love I, love, none but you? If I could find the reason why, methinks my love would quickly die. 2. Aye, knew I how to hate thee, maid, I'd hate thee for I knew not what, excepting that I'd rather not be thy friend or foeman, for thou'rt the only woman on who to think my heart's afraid, for if I would abhor thee, the more must I long for thee. What others force me to, I turn me from, why not from you? If I could find the reason why, my disenchanted love would die. 3. But shouldst thou cease my heart to move to longings that I'd rather not, and try to hate I know not what, my heart would do for mourning. Love I, it bursts, love scorning. Oh, loveliest hate, most hateful love, this combat and endeavor is what enslaves me ever. I'll neither of the two, or hate or love the love of you, and now I've found the reason why, I know my love can never die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Two Archers by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. 1. At break of bright May morning, when, triumphing o'er dark, the sun's inspired lark, all sprites and spectres scorning, and laughing at all creatures' joys, who could not hang and dive and poise in their own web and flood of noise, dropped out of his heart's treasure the sunbeam's path along, sparks and dews of song, as if there were no pleasure but to rise and sing and fly, winged and all soul, into the sky. 2. At break of this May morning, a maiden young and coy saw a wild archer boy flying around and scorning, bird-like, a withered bowman's arts, who aimed as he at roses' hearts. Each cried, "Come, buy my darts, they are with magic laden, to deify the blood, an angel in the bud. Half closed is a maiden, till opened by such wound she fly, winged and all soul, into the sky." 3. You archers of May morning, said she, if I must choose, such joy as to peruse, in the starlight adorning, the urchin's eye that my desire is for his darts whose breath fans higher the smitten roses like a fire. So love 'twas he shot smiling, his shaft then flew away. Alas, that morn of May, love fled, there's no beguiling repentance but by hopes to fly, winged and all soul, into the sky. 4. So one December morning, when the bold lark no more rebuked the ghosts so sore, when dews were not adorning aught but that maiden's cheek, where wide the blushes spread their leaves to hide the broken heart which such supplied, she sought the pair of May day, and to the old one saith, "Let thy dart, steadfast death, cure a forsaken lady. Its point is but for those who'd fly, winged in all soul, into the sky. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Runaway by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Felicia Molyneux. Has no one seen my heart of you? My heart has run away. And if you catch him, ladies, do return him me, I pray. On earth he is no more, I hear, upon the land or sea. For the women found the rogue so queer, they sent him back to me. In heaven there is no purchaser for such strange ends and odds, says a Jew who goes to Jupiter to buy and sell old gods. So there's but one place more to search, that's not genteel to tell, where demonesses go to church. So Christians farewell. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song on the Water by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonali. As mad sexton's bell, tolling for Earth's loveliest daughter, night's dimness breaks rolling, ghostlily, so our boat breaks the water, witchingly. As her look the dream troubles of her tearful-eyed lover, so our sails in the bubbles, ghostlily, are mirrored and hover moonily. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Alpine Spirit Song by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read from LibriVox.org by PaulGrancio. O'er the snow, through the air to the mountain, with the antelope, with the eagle, ho! With a bound, with a feathery roe, to the side of the icy fountain, where the gentian's bluebell blow, where the storm sprite, the raindrops counting, cowers under the bright rainbow, like a burst of midnight fire. Singing shoots my fleet desire, winged with the wing of love, earth below and stars above. Let me rest on the snow, never pressed, but by chamois light and by eagle feet, where the hearts of the antelope beat, neath the light of the moony crescent, where the wild cloud rests his feet, and the scented airs caress it, from the alpine orchis sweet, and about the Sondop lone, voices airy breathe a tone, charming with the sense of love, earth below and stars above. Through the night, like a dragon from Pilate, out of murky cave, let us cloudy sail, over lake, over bowery vale, as a chime of bells at twilight in the downy evening gale passes swimming tremulously light, till we reach yon rocky pale of the mountain crowning all, slumber there by waterfall, lonely like a spectre's love, earth beneath and stars above. End of poem.
This recording is in the public domain. Song by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Translated from the German of Walter von der Vogelweide. Under the lime tree on the daisied ground, two that I know of made their bed. There you may see, heaped and scattered round, grass and blossoms broken and shed, all in a thicket down in the dale. Tandara Dai sweetly sang the nightingale. Ere I set foot in the meadow already, someone was waiting for somebody. There was a meeting, O gracious lady, there is no pleasure again for me. Thousands of kisses there he took, Tandara die, see my lips, how red they look. Leaf and blossom he had pulled and piled for a couch, a green one, soft and high, and many a one hath gazed and smiled, passing the bower and pressed grass by, and the roses crushed hath seen, Tandara die, where I laid my head between. In this love passage, if any one had been there, how sad and shamed should I be. But what were we doing alone among the green there? No soul shall ever know, except my love and me, and the little nightingale. Tandara die, she, I think, will tell no tale. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Song of the Stygian Naiades by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox by Night Owl Dana N. Prosper Pine may pull her flowers, wet with dew or wet with tears, red with anger, pale with fears. Is it any fault of ours if Pluto be an amorous king and comes home nightly laden underneath his broad bat wing with a gentle mortal maiden? Is it so, wind? Is it so? All that you and I do know is that we saw flying fix 'mongst the reeds and flowers of Styx yesterday, where the Furies made their hay for a bed of tiger cubs, a great fly of Beelzebubs, the bee of hearts which mortals name Cupid, love, and fie for shame. Prosper Pine may weep and rage, but ere I and you have done kissing, bathing in the sun, what I have in yonder cage, bird or serpent, wild or tame, she shall guess and ask in vain. But if Pluto dust again, it shall sing out loud his shame. What has caught then? What has caught? Nothing but a poet's thought, which so light did fall and fix 'mongst the reeds and flowers of Styx yesterday, where the Furies made their hay for a bed of tiger cubs, a great fly of Beelzebubs, the bee of hearts which mortals name Cupid, love, and fie for shame. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lily of the Valley by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. Where the harebells are ringing their peal of sunny flowers, and a bird of merry soul sings away the birthday hours of the valley lily low, opening dewily and slow, petals dear to young and fair, for the prophecy they bear of the coming roses. The free, bold bird of merry soul amidst his leaves cannot control his triumphant love of spring. Thou bird of joyous soul, why canst thou not control thy triumphant love of spring? I know that thou dost rally thy spirit proud to sing, because today is born the lily of the valley. Oh, rather shouldst thou mourn for that flower so meek and low, born with its own death-bell, only cometh to foretell unpitying winter's doom, who in scorn doth lay it low in the tomb. Vain is all its prayer, it may flatter as it will the ungentle hours with its ring of toying flowers, unrelenting they must kill with their scornful breath for the very petals fair which the destined flower uncloses in its innocence, to plead for its defense by the prophecy they bear of the coming roses, sign the warrant for its death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Lament by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by jonbuder. In the twilight, silent smiled, all alone the daisy's eyelid, fringed with pink-tipped petals piled. In the morning 'twas no more, in its place a gout of gore. Break of day was break of heart, since, dear maiden, dead thou art. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dirge by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonali. Like dew the flowers fell, no need of fell despair, though to the grave you bear one still of soul, but now too still, one fair, but now too fair. For beneath your feet the mound and the waves that play around have meaning in their grassy and their watery smiles, and with 1,000 sunny vials, each says, as he reproves death's arrow of his loves. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Epitaph by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox by Ampab. The form's divinity, the heart's best grace, where are they? Have they their immortal throne upon thy maiden's thought and peerless face, thou cool-eyed reader? Yet beneath this stone dust lies, weeds grow, and this is the remain of one best union of that deathless twain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Tree of Life by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by ShrimpPhish. There is a mighty magic tree that holds the round earth and the sea in its branches like a net. Its immortal trunk is set broader than the tide of night, with its star-tipped billows bright. Human thought doth on it grow, like the barren mistletoe on an old oak's forehead skin, ever while the planets spin. Their blue existence that great plant shall not bud or blossom want. Summer, winter, night and day, it must still its harvest pay, ever while the night grows up along the wall of the wide sky, and the thunder-bee sweeps by on its brown wet wing to dry every day star's crystal cup of its yellow summer. Still at the foot of heaven's hill, with fruit and blossom flush and rife, stays that tree of human life. Let us mark yon newest bloom, heaving through the leafy gloom. Now a pinkish bud it grows, scentless, bloomless, slow unclose its outer pages to the sun, opened but not yet begun. Its first leaf is infancy, penciled pale and tenderly. Smooth its cheek and mild its eye, now it swells and curls its head. Little infancy is shed, broader childhood is the next. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Newborn Star by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by ShrimpPhish. The world is born today. What is the world? Behold the wonder. With a mighty thunder, round the sun it rolls this way, and its shadow falls afar over many a star in the interstellar veil, through which some aged, patient globe, whose gaunt sides no summers robe, like a prisoner through his grate, shivering in despair, doth wait for sunbeams broken, old and pale. Bounding like its own fleet deer, down a hill behold a sphere, now a mountain tall and wide, hanging weighty on its side, pulls it down impetuously. Yet the little butterfly, whom the daisy's dew doth glut, with his wings small pages shut, was not stirred. Now forests fall like clouds that gather o'er the plains unruffled weather, burst great rocks with thunder out, lakes their plunged feet about, round and smooth and heaving ever, an unawakened serpent river, coiled and sleeping. Silver changes now are creeping down the descending summit of the ball, pastures break and steadfast land sinks, melting, mighty ocean is at hand. Space for eternal waves, be strong and wide, thou new-born star, reflecting all the sky, and its lone sun the island starred tide swells, billowing by. At last the dreadful sea is curled behind the nations, mark ye now the death-intending wrinkles of his brow, he is the murderous Judas of the world. What valley green with stream and tree, the fairest, sweetest place? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Threnody by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. No sunny ray, no silver night cruelly alight, or glare of noontides, star of e'en otherwhere descend. No violet-eyed green bear its daisy's yellow end, the dewy debt receives of any eye. It is a grave, and she doth lie 'neath roses' root, and the fawn's mossy foot under the skylark's floor, whose graceful life held every day as lily dew, as dew's the starry ray, more music, grace, delight than they. When stars are few, let light be here of the softest, through the boughs berry laden, sad and few. And the wings of one small bird, his form unseen, his voice unheard. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lines written at Geneva, July 1824, by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by David Lawrence. The hour is starry, and the airs that stray sad wanderers from their golden home of day, on night's black mountain, melt and fade away in sorrow that is music. Some there be make blue pillows on Geneva's sea, and sleep upon their best loved planet's shade, and every herb is sleeping in the glade. They have drunk sunshine and the linnet's song, till every leaf's soft sleep is dark and strong. Or was there ever sound, or can what was now be so dead? Although no flowers or grass grow from the corpse of a deceased sound, somewhat, methinks, should mark the air around its dying place and tomb, a gentle music, or a pale perfume. For hath it not a body and a spirit, a noise and meaning? And when one doth hear it, twice born, twice dying, doubly found and lost, that second self, that echo, is its ghost. But even the dead are all asleep this time, and not a grave shakes with the dreams of crime. The earth is full of chambers for the dead, and every soul is quiet in his bed. Some who have seen their bodies moulder away, antediluvian minds, most happy they, who have no body but the beauteous air, no body but their minds. Some wretches are now lying with the last and only bone of their old selves, and that one worm alone that ate their heart. Some, very just, behold their weary flesh, like a used mansion, sold unto a stranger, and see enter it the earthquake winds and waters of the pit, or children's spirits in its holes to play. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Stanzas from the Ivory Gate by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by David Lawrence. The mighty thoughts of an old world fan, like a dragon's wing unfurled, the surface of my yearnings deep, and solemn shadows then awake, like the fish lizard in the lake, troubling a planet's morning sleep. My waking is a Titan's dream, where a strange sun, long set, doth beam through Montezuma's cypress bough. Through the fern wilderness forlorn glisten the giant heart's great horn, and serpents vast with helmed brow. The measureless from caverns rise, with steps of earthquake, thunderous cries, and graze upon the lofty wood, the palmy grove, through which doth gleam such antediluvian ocean's stream, haunt shadowy my domestic mood. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lines Written in Switzerland by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Finn Brad. What silence drear in England's oaky forest, erst merry with the red breast's ballad song, or rustic roundlay. No hoof-print on the sward, where sometime danced Spenser's equestrian verse, its mazy measure. Now by pathless brook gazeth alone the broken-hearted stag, and sees no tear fall in from pitiful eye, like kindest Shakespeare's. We who marked how fell young Adonis, sick of vain endeavour, lark-like to live on high in tower of song, and looked still deeper through each other's eyes at every flash of Shelley's dazzling spirit, quivering like dagger on the breast of night, that seemed some hidden natural light reflected upon time's scythe, a moment and away. We who have seen Mount Rydal's snowy head bound round with courtly jingles, list so long like old Orion for the break of morn, like Homer blind for sound of youthful harp. And, if a wandering music swells the gale, 'tis some poor solitary heartstring burst. Well, Britain, let the fiery Frenchman boast that at the bidding of the charmer moves their nation's heart, as ocean neath the moon, silvered and soothed. Be proud of Manchester, pestiferous Liverpool, Ocean Avernus, where bullying blasphemy, like a slimy lie, creeps to the highest church's pinnacle, and glistening infects the light of heaven. O flattering likeness on a copper coin, sit still upon your slave-raised cotton bowl, with upright toasting fork and toothless cat. The country clown still holds her for a lion. The voice, when the affrighted herds dash heedless to the edge of craggy abysses, and the amazed circle of scared eagles spire to the clouds amid the Gletscher clash, when avalanches fall, nation alarms. But clearer, though not loud, a voice is heard of proclamation or of warning stern. Yet, if I tread out of the alpine shade, and once more weave the web of thoughtful verse, nay, no vainglorious motive break my silence, since I have sate unheard so long in hope that mightier and better might essay the potent spell to break, which has fair truth banished so drear a while from mouths of song, though genius, bearing out of other worlds new freights of thought from fresh discovered minds, be but reciprocated love of truth. Witness kind Shakespeare, our recording angel, Newton, whose thought rebuilt the universe, and Galileo, broken-hearted seer, who, like a moon attracted naturally, kept circling round the central sun of truth. not in the popular playhouse, or full throng of opera-gazers longing for deceit, not on the velvet day-bed novel-strewn, or in the interval of pot and pipe, not between sermon and the scandalous paper, may verse like this e'er hope an eye to feed on it. But if there be who, having laid the loved, where they may drop a tear in roses' cups, with half their hearts inhabit other worlds, if there be any, were there but few, who, watching the slow lighting up of stars, lonely at eve, like seamen sailing near some island city where their dearest dwell, cannot but guess in sweet imagining, alas, too sweet, doubtful, and melancholy, which light is glittering from their loved one's home, such may perchance, with favourable mind, follow my thought along its mountainous path. Now then to Caucasus, the cavernous. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Doomsday by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Felicia Molyneux. If I can raise one ghost, what I will raise and call up Doomsday from behind the east. Awake then, ghostly Doomsday. Throw up your monuments, ye buried men, that lie in ruined cities of the wastes. Ye battlefields and woody mountainsides, ye lakes and oceans, and ye lava floods that have overwhelmed great cities, now roll back, and let the sceptred break their pyramids. An earthquake of the buried shake the domes of arched cathedrals that overturn the forests, until the grassy mounds and sculptured floors, the monumental statues, hollow rocks, the paved churchyard, and the flowery mead, and ocean's billowy sarcophagi, pass from the bosoms of the rising people like clouds. Enough of stars and suns immortal have risen in heaven. Today, in earth and sea, riseth mankind. And first, yawn deep and wide, ye marble palace floors, and let the uncoffined bones, which ye conceal, ascend, and dig their purple murderers up, out of their crowned death. Ye catacombs, open your gates, and overwhelm the sands, with an eruption of the naked millions. Out of old centuries, the buried naves shall hear the call, and shoot up from the sea, whose wrecks shall knock against the hollow mountains, and wake the swallowed cities in their hearts. Forgotten armies rattle with their spears against the rocky walls of their sepulchres. An earthquake of the buried shakes the pillars of the thick-sown cathedrals, guilty forests, where bloody spades have dug midnightly storms, the muddy drowning places of the babes, the pyramids and bony hiding places. Thou rainbow on the tearful lash of doomsday's morning star, rise quick, and let me gaze into the planet deep and far, as into a loved eye, or I must, like the fiery child of the Vesuvian womb, burst with my flickering ghost abroad, before the sun of doom rolls up the spectre sky. A lowly mound, at stormy night, sent up this ardent prayer, out of a murderer's grave, a traitor's deadly bed, and the deeds of him, more dread than Cain, whose wickedness lay there, all mankind hath heard or read. O doomsday, doomsday come, thou creative morn, of graves in earth and under sea, all teeming at the horn of angels fair and dread. As thou the ghost shalt waken, so I, the ghost, wake thee, for thy rising sun and I shall rise together from the sea, the eldest of the dead. So crying o'er the billowy main, an old ghost strode to a churchyard on the shore, over whose ancient corpse the billowy main of ships had ebbed and flowed 4,000 years or more. World, wilt thou yield thy spirits up and be convulsed and die? And, as I haunt the billowy main, thy ghost shall haunt the sky, a pale, unheeded star. O doomsday, doomsday, when wilt thou dawn at length for me? So having prayed in moonlight waves, beneath the shipwrecked sea, in spectral caverns far. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Threnody by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by David Lawrence. Far away, as we hear the song of wild swans winging through the day, the thought of him who is no more comes ringing on my ear. Gentle fear on the breast of my memory comes breaking, near and near, as night wind's murmurous music waking sees at rest. As the blessed tearful eye sees the sun behind the ocean, red in the west, grow pale, and in changing hues and fading motion, wane and die, so do I, wake or dream. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Old Ghost by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Over the water an old ghost strode to a churchyard on the shore, and over him the waters had flowed 1,000 years or more, and pale and wan and weary looked never a sprite as he. For it's lonely and it's dreary, the ghost of a body to be, that has mouldered away in the sea. Over the billows the old ghost stepped, and the winds in mockery sung, for the bodiless ghost would fain have wept over the maiden that lay so young 'mong the thistles and toadstools so hoary. And he begged of the waves a tear, but they shook upwards their moonlight glory, and the shark looked on with a sneer at his yearning desire and agony. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Written in album at Clifton, March 1828, by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Long have I racked my brains for rhymes to please, but vainly, for the time doth grow upon me, and throw the lights and shadows of reality through my mind's cavern, melting in its glare the fairy-like inhabitants of twilight, which I essayed to summon. Even so it came to pass, as I have heard it told, as once a lady's grace and gentleness, that shed soft beauty over every one standing around her, like to spirits summoned, that must so wait and gaze, but dare not step within the circled halo of the charmer. Lent to an almost unknown traveller a book whose leaves are heavy with the music of poetry such as she loved to read, for poetry was her life's element, which she shook from her, lightly breaking up the current of men's thought, wherein this world was pictured drearily into fair dimples, as doth a curled swan silently roving through the reflection of a haunted palace upon a musically enchanted stream. and on those pages where her eye would dwell, she had permitted the world-wandering stranger to leave a token of his poor existence. And now, enclosed in his guest chamber, holding the magic volume which contained the charms to raise the memory of the gone out of the night that had closed over them, the traveller, grateful for so sweet a task, fain would have spellbound fiction's fairest shapes, and sent them captive to pay homage there. But all in vain. The truth was restless in him, and shook his visionary fabrics down, as one who had been buried long ago, and now was called up by a necromancer to answer dreadful questions. So compelled, he left the way of fiction, and wrote thus: Woe unto him whose fate hath thwarted him, whose life had been 'mongst such as were not born to cherish in his bosom reverence, and the calm awe that comforteth the heart, and lulls the yearnings of hope unfulfilled. Such have I been, and woe again to him who, in too late an hour, presumptuously o'erhears a wish confessing to his soul, and must dismiss it to his discontent with scorn and laughter. Woe again to me! For now I hear even such an anxious voice crying in my soul's solitude, and bewailing that I had never in my childhood known the bud of this manifold beauteousness, and seen each leaf turn of its tender hinge, until the last few parted scarce, and held deep in their midst a heaven-reflecting gem. For then I might, O vain and flattering wish, I might have stood, though last, among the friends, where I am now the last among the strangers, and not have passed away, as now I must, into forgetfulness, into the cold of the open homeless world without a hope, unless it be of pardon for these words. For what is't to the moon that every drop of flower-held rain reflects and gazes on her? Her destiny is in the starry heavens, theirs here upon the ground, and she doth set, leaving her shadow no more to delight them, and cometh ne'er again till they are fled. So is't with me. Yet to have seen, though seldom, and to have fed me on that beauty's light, and to have been allowed to trace these thoughts, are undeserved favours from my fortune. Such was the import of his lines, which many would have rejected with a scornful smile, but if she smiled, smiled pity. She was gentle, read and forgave, and never thought again on the presumptuous stranger and his lines. Away! I should have told a better tale. Forgive, and shut these pages up for ever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sonnet to Zoë King by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Ampab. Leaf after leaf, like the magician's book, unfolds the universe, and needs we now, cousin of mine, while the whole world doth look our shoulders over with its rocky brow. In turn our living story must transact upon the surface of its earthen pages, whence the still shade of our most needless act shall paint itself with iron syllables in the arched sight of unwakened ages. Therefore 'tis ours, and his who with us dwells, beneath the roof of the same starry hour, both in his own and in the general mind, which is the world all truth and good to find, and finding practice to his end of power. February 29th, 1824. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Fragment by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. Folly hath now turned out of door mankind and fate who were before Jove's harlequin and clown. The world's no stage, no tavern more. Its sign the fools ta'en down. With poppy rain and cypress dew, weep all for all who laughed at you. For goose-grass is no medicine more, but the owl's brown eyes, the sky's new blue. Hi-ho, fool's cap. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Flowery Alchemist by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. Hist, oh hist, my pretty pale young violet, thy moony cheek uncover. Lift that hood of fallen sky, and my lips once more I'll wet against the dewball of thine eye. Hist, oh hist. So a leafy whisper said, underneath a sweetbriar shade, guess the lady blossom's lover. 'Twas the flowery alchemist, a stinging, gay, intriguing fellow, the wildest bee in black and yellow. Hist, oh hist, my pretty pale young violet, glowworms lightning blind me, when I leave my bud's embrace, when I traitorously forget thy cerulean baby's grace. Hist, oh hist. The very next night he told the tale to a little lily of the vale, and the poor young violet died of shame. O fie, thou flowery alchemist, thou stinging, gay, intriguing fellow, thou wildest bee in black and yellow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Fragment by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. A veined petal closes over, a dewy spark, ere eve is dark, and starry fireflies flit and hover, dreams of the rose, o'er its repose. So bend thy head and sleep a while, in the moon's visionary smile. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Lord Alcohol by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. 1. Who tames the lion now? Who smooths Jove's wrinkles now? Who is the reckless wight that in the horrid middle of the deserted night doth play upon man's brain, as on a wanton fiddle, the mad and magic strain, the reeling, tripping sound, to which the world goes round? Sing hi-ho diddle, and then say, Love, quoth love? Nay, nay, it is a spirit fine, of ale or ancient wine, Lord Alcohol, the drunken fay, Lord Alcohol, alway. 2. Who maketh the pipe-clay man think all that nature can? Who dares the gods to flout, lay fate beneath the table, and maketh him stammer out 1,000 monstrous things, for history a fable, dish clouts for kings, and sends the world along, singing a ribald song of hi-ho, Babel? Who, I pray? Love, quoth love? Nay, nay, it is a spirit fine, of ale or ancient wine, Lord Alcohol, the drunken fay, Lord Alcohol, alway. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Oviparous Tailor by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by April 6090. Wee tailor. Nobody was paler than wee tailor, and nobody was thinner. Hast thou mutton chops for dinner? My small beer sinner, my starveling rat, but hailer. Wee tailor? Below his starving garret lived an old witch and a parrot. Wee tailor. Cross, horrid, and uncivil, for her grandsire was the devil, or a chimney sweeper evil. She was sooty, too, but paler. Wee tailor. Her sooty hen laid stale eggs, and then came with his splay legs, wee tailor, and stole those eggs for dinner. Then would old witch begin her? Damnations on the sinner. Made the thief lay eggs, but staler, wee tailor. Wee tailor, which watched him like a jailer. Wee tailor. Did all his little luck spill? Though he swallowed many a muck's pill, yet his mouth grew like a duck's bill, crowed like a hen, but maler. Wee tailor. Near him did cursed doom stick, as he perched upon a broomstick. Wee tailor. It lightened, rained, and thundered, and all the doctors wondered, when he had laid about 100 gallinaceous eggs, but staler. Wee tailor. 100 eggs laid daily, no marvel he looked palely. Wee tailor. Which let folks in to see some poached tailor's eggs to please 'em. He must cackle on his besom, till foul death did prevail o'er. Wee tailor. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Silenus in Proteus by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by ShrimpPhish. Oh, those were happy days, heaped up with wineskins, and ivy-wreathed, and Thyrsus-swinging days, swimming like streamy-tressed wanton Bacchantes, when I was with thee, and sat kingly on thee, my ass of asses, then, quite full of wine, morning eve, and leaning on a fawn, still pretty steady, and on t'other side, some vinous-lipped nymph of Ariadne, her bosom a soft cushion for my right, half dreaming and half waking, both in bliss. I sat upon my ass, and laughed at Jove. But thou art dead, my Dapple, and I too shall ride thee soon about the Elysian meadow, almost a skeleton as well as thou. And why, O dearest, couldst not keep thy legs, that sacred hair, sacred to sacred me? Was this thy gratitude for pats and fondlings, to die like any other mortal ass? Was it for this, O son of Semele, I taught thee then, a little tumbling one, to suck the goat-skin oftener than the goat? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Song by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by ShrimpPhish. The snake is come out, and the bee is about, in the sunny delight of Hymettus. Oh, would I were he, the gay dappled bee, for then the narcissus would let us drink out of her bosom ambrosian blossom, to the health of her neighbour the olive, the first drop of spring. Oh, happy the thing, that in Greece the mellifluous can so live. The green frog of the ditch pours his love loud and rich, coaxing the water-maid's shoulder, and from round golden eyes darts in amorous wise a sheaf of love's bee-stings like arrows, and love's in the wood, in a goat-footed mood, dancing with Pan and his fellows. So my nymphs may beware of the treasury rare, of bosoms and cheeks the sun mellows. But here, oh, ho, cold, snowy, mountainous, old, is the earth of the barbarous island. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Comet by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The eye of the demon on Albion was turned, and viewing the happy with envy he burned. He snarled at the churches, the almshouse he cursed, till hate of their virtue his silence had burst. Why waves yonder harvest? Why glitters yon tower? My hate they despise, and they scoff at my power. Then lend me assistance, ye elements dire, attend at my call, air, earth, water, and fire. He spoke, and lo, pregnant with flame and with pest, the scorch of the blast his rough mandate confessed. The flame of the typhus, the stifling damp, and there rode the blast that will smother the lamp. In vain you command us, the heart-easing prayer, and the sounds of the hymn as they wind through the air, blunt the arrows of sickness with pestilence bare. Then loud was the roar as the wind fled away, till earth trembled and spoke from the regions of day. The shocks of my mountains roll cataracts back, and from north to the south could the universe crack, but the heart of the ocean I may not attack. The thunder was o'er, and the motion was still, but the god of the waters thus murmured his will. All Europe my waves in a moment shall hide, and the old world and new be swallowed by tide, but the Albion Isle shall my prowess deride. The waves had sunk down, and the billows were hushed, ere the flame of destruction before him had rushed. Whole cities and empires have died at my blast, so strong is my power, my rapine so fast, but Britain unhurt shall endure to the last. In vain frowned the demon. Still terror I'll try, and the envoy of Yaman shall fleet through the sky. But while virtue and justice in Britain remain, the firebrand of Yaman shall dazzle in vain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Perfume by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Exquisite masker, who dost changeful flit upon the sun-hatched zephyr, basking now in the broad light, 'mongst roses thou dost sit on crimson throne, in the thorn-guarded bough, veiled by pink curtains, which will scarce admit to thine embrace the bee with velvet brow, or winged as incense rising to the sun, a dove-like messenger thou bearest the prayer. Or dost alight where streamlets gently run, gilding in dew adown the morning air? Or bashfully dost common notice shun, dividing as a kiss the ruby pear, which the coquetting night wind only sips? Stay till I fetch thee from those mellow lips. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Thoughts by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Sweet are the thoughts that haunt the poet's brain, like rainbow-fringed clouds, through which some star peeps in bright glory on a shepherd swain. They sweep along and trance him, sweeter far than incense trailing up an outstretched chain from rocking censer. Sweeter, too, they are than the thin mist which rises in the gale from out the slender cowslip's bee-scarred breast. Their delicate pinions buoy up a tail like brittle wings, which curtain in the vest of cobweb-limbed ephemeræ, that sail in gauzy mantle of dun twilight dressed. Borne on the wind's soft sighs, when the spring listens all evening to its whispering. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Rivulet by Thomas Lovell Beddoes, read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. It is a lovely stream, its wavelets purl, as if they echoed to the fall and rise of the capricious breeze. Each upward curl that splashes pearl mirrors the fairy eyes. A viewless passer and the billows hurl their sparkles on her lap as o'er she flies, and see where onward whirls within a ring of smoothest dimples a dark foxglove bell, half stifled by the gush encircling. Perchance some tiny sprite crawled to that shell to sleep away the noon, and winds did swing him into rest, for the warm sun was well shaded off by the long and silky down. So I will save it, lest the elf should drown. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sound by Thomas Lovell Beddoes, read for LibriVox.org. Spirit, who stealest from silence's embrace, lending to mortal thoughts a powerful wing, now marching slow with solemn pace, the broken cries of passion syllabling, now gambolling with sprightly grace in ladies' voices as they sing. How thou dost prison up in lovely wreaths the hearer's soul, like buds whose folded leaves conceal their lusciousness in rosy sheets. How when some hapless beauty sighing grieves, thou barbest every arrowed sigh she breathes, and givest a sting to sobs she quickly heaves, till down our tears in trickling gushes roll, tears, the pure blood drops of the wounded soul. Thou hangest up in the caverns of our years thy precious dewdrops, and our inmost souls echo thy beauty. When the lightning sears, clad in thy power, the lowering thunder rolls the scornful laugh of elements. Past years thou mournest when the bell suddenly tolls, and then thou loadest with iron tone the gale. Thou hoverest with a wing plumed with sweet notes, moth-like, around the chords where music's veil, a mist raised from tune's ocean, duskly floats, or fountained in the heart of nightingale, with tide of murmurs, swellest along her throat. Sweet soother of my senses, flutter near, or sleep forever in my charmed ear. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tonight by Thomas Lovell Beddoes, read for LibriVox.org by Olivia. So, thou art come again, old black-winged night, like a huge bird between us and the sun, hiding with outstretched form the genial light, and still beneath thine icy bosom's dun and cloudy plumage, hatching fog-breathed blight and embryo storms, and crabbed frosts that shun day's warm caress, the owls from ivied loop are shrieking homage, as thou cowerest high, like sable crow pausing in eager stoop, on the dim world thou gluttest thy clouded eye, silently waiting latest time's fell whoop, when thou shalt quit thine eyrie in the sky, to pounce upon the world with eager claw, and tomb time, death, and substance in thy maw. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Fantastic Simile by Thomas Lovell Beddoes, read for LibriVox.org by Anthony Will. A lover is a slender glowing urn. On beauty's shrine his heart is incense sweet, which with his eyelit torch young love doth burn. Then from its ardor cloudy ringlets fleet, that we call sighs, and they with perfume turn upwards his mistress' whisperings to meet. The breezy whispers and the sighs embrace, like pink-winged clouds mixing above the hill, and from their lovely toying spring a race of tears which saunter down in cheek-banked rill, silvering with sparkling coil the fair one's face, twin dewdrops which her startled senses spill from violet's eyes that hide their tender hue, deep caverned in a fringed lake of blue. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Another by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Olivia. 'Tis a moon-tinted primrose, with a well of trembling dew. In its soft atmosphere, a tiny whirlwind of sweet smells, doth dwell a ladybird. And when no sound is near, that elfin hermit fans the fairy bell with glazen wings, mirrors on which appear atoms of colors that fliz by unseen, and struts about his darling flower with pride. But if some buzzing gnat with pettish spleen comes whining by, the insect 'gins to hide, and folds its flimsy drapery between his speckled buckler and soft silken side. So poets fly the critic's snappish heat, and sheath their minds in scorn and self-conceit. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Silence by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Huge viewless ocean into which we cast our passing words, and as they sink away, an echo bubbles up upon the blast. Oh, could thy waves but vomit in their play those unseen pearls which thou dost clasp so fast, and hang them at our ears, washed in thy spray, what endless stores our casket, memory, would brood on and enjoy. But wherefore now dost thou engulf our talk, and flood us by uphurling clouds upon our moody brow? E'en when we dumbly muse sometimes a sigh of bursting blossom, or hoarse groan from bough, break through thy foam like Venus ocean sprung, and to our ears upon the wind are swung. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To My Lyre by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org. My lyre, thou art the bower of my senses, where they may sleep in tuneful visions bound. These trembling chords shall be their breeze-kissed fences, which are with music's tendrils warmly wound, as with some creeping shrub which sweets dispenses, and on each quivering stalk blossoms a sound. My lyre, thou art the barred prison grate, where shackled melody a bondmaid sleeps, and taunting breezes as her tortures wait. With radiant joy the hapless prisoner peeps, and sings delight, with freedom's hope elate, when some fair hand upon the surface sweeps, and still she beats against the prison bars, till silence comes and smothers her pert jars. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Poesy by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Sweet sister of my soul, thou that dost creep gently into my bosom, and there lie in converse with my spirit, and now weep and anguish it with kindly agony. Now draw it with thy lore, dreadful and deep, through wild appalling dreams, then tenderly toy and change smiles. Oh, now I feel thee pour into my breast thy gushing tears of sound, and bury the sharp fang in my heart's core. Now balm with thy sweet breath the throbbing wound. Thou and my soul oft on thought's pinions soar, clasping like dewdrops in a flower, around that cast their rainbow-eyed pale beams, and kiss and tremble in their loveliness and bliss. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Clock Striking at Midnight by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Hark to the echo of time's footstep. Gone those moments are into the unseen grave of ages. They have vanished nameless. None, while they are deep under the eddying wave of the chaotic past, shall place a stone sacred to these, the nurses of the brave, the mighty, and the good. Futurity broods on the ocean, hatching neath her wing, invisible to man, the century that on its 100 feet, a sluggish thing, gnawing away the world, shall totter by, and sweep dead mortals with it. As I sing, time, the colossus of the world, that strides with each foot plunged in darkness, silent glides, and puffs death's cloud upon us. It is vain to struggle with the tide, we all must sink, still grasping the thin air with frantic pain, grappling with fame to buoy us. Can we think eternity, by whom swift time is slain, and dragged along to dark destruction's brink, shall be the echo of man's puny words? Or that our grovelling thoughts shall e'er be writ in never-fading stars? Or, like proud birds, undazzled in their cloud-built eyrie, sit, clutching the lightning, or in darting herds, diving amid the sea's vast treasury, flit? Sink, painted clay, back to thy parent earth, while the glad spirit seeks a brighter birth. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To a Bunch of Grapes Ripening in My Window by Thomas Lovell Beddoes. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Cluster of pregnant berries pressed in luscious warmth together, like golden eggs in glassy nest, hatched by the zephyr's dewy breast in sultry weather. Or amber tears of those sad girls who mourn their hapless brother, strung closely on the glossy curls of yon fair shrub, whose zigzag twirls clip one another. Or silent swarm of golden bees, your velvet bosoms brushing, dropped odorous from the gummy breeze, lingering in sleep upon the trees, whilst summer's blushing. Or liquid sunbeams swathed in net, spun by some vagrant fairy, like mimic lamps fresh trimmed and set, in thick festoons with ripeness wet, moonlight to carry. Or drops of honey lately stolen from the hive's treasury, bubbles of light with sweetness swollen, balls of bright juice by breezes rollen and banded high. I watch with wondrous care each day your little spotted blushes, dyed by the sun's rude staring ray, and soon I hope you'll ooze away in sunny gushes. Then shall ye, veiled in misty fume, in polished urn be flowing, with blood of nectar, soul perfume, breathe on our cheeks a downy bloom, with pleasure glowing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of the poetical works of Thomas Lovell Beddoes.